Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
We start today with Antonio Brown. All right, we will never know the definitive truth regarding the sexual assault allegations leveled against Patriots receiver Antonio Brown. For the purpose of this show and this discussion, those allegations are immaterial. What we know is Antonio Brown consistently behaves in a low-character fashion that adds to the credibility to his accuser's claims. How do we know this? It's been documented and reported. For the past year, when discussing Brown, I have referenced the story the undefeated's Jesse Washington published about Brown on September 7th of 2018. The story detailed Brown's addiction to Instagram and captured the dysfunction between Brown and his multiple baby mamas and his former trainer, Bo Smith. The story provided a peek into AB's abusive nature and phony public persona. Smith told Washington, "I don't want to say nothing bad, but he got character issues. You act family, always talking God. You're not really on that. Stop acting. Got people think you really live in that life when you acting. You putting on for social media, bruh." Washington's story included reports of Brown telling his first baby mama, Shamika Brailsford, "Make your own son, bitch. I got 3 more babies here." Brailsford told Washington, "You sure you want to talk to me? Because he nothing like he portray on the internet." Washington reported clashes between Brown and his current girlfriend, Chelsea Kyrus, with whom Brown shares 3 children. Via Instagram, Brown blasted Kyrus for abandoning her 2 kids by another man, writing, quote, "She has 2 older kids she hasn't seen or claimed in 4 years running around and chasing me." Antonio Brown is a train wreck. The day Washington's story published, Brown threatened Washington with violence. The Steelers forced Brown to apologize. There are additional stories of Brown's bad behavior. He makes a habit of stiffing service providers and spamming them with crude and menacing text messages. Nick Underhill of The Athletic tweeted out emails Brown allegedly sent to Brittany Taylor, the woman accusing Brown of sexual assault. The emails are grotesque and abusive. They're the final touches of a portrait that framed Brown as someone who treats people as beneath him. John Gruden, Mike Mayock, and the Oakland Raiders were treated no worse than Brown's assortment of baby mamas, the personal chef who is suing Brown, Bo Smith, Mike Tomlin, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Brown is an equal opportunity supremacist. Most self-worshipers don't discriminate when it comes to abuse. Brown's superiority complex isn't unique among celebrities and elites. His symptoms are just more acute, and he's not as clever at masking them. Brown should finance 15% of a public school as a tax write-off, slap on some Nike Equality t-shirts, and compare himself to Emmett Till's mother. That will throw everyone off the trail. I know I just upset LeBron worshipers, but you're kidding yourself if you don't realize Luke Walton and John Gruden could compare notes and find a lot of similarities. I understand Brown's delusion. He grew up in Miami's notoriously rough Liberty City. No relationship with his father, kicked out of his home at 16, walked on at Central Michigan, drafted in the 6th round. Brown is just a kid from Liberty City. He's not supposed to be here. That mindset can make you feel like the chosen one and superior. It can create a sense of entitlement that makes you a bad person and even worse teammate. AB, when you call God, you need to listen. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and his. All right, joining the desk now are Fox Sports NFL analysts Mark Schlereth and LeVar Arrington. Marcellus, start us off. I do want to just say to the viewers again, we're not here to discuss the allegations. We're not qualified to do that. We're going to talk about, should the Patriots care if Antonio Brown is a bad person of low character?
I'm going to answer that by first doing something that's difficult for many a person, is to separate the signal from the noise. And we have to ask ourselves, what's the task at hand for the New England Patriots? What's their core responsibility? That's constructing a football team. So when something's complex as the issues that come with Antonio Bryant, as they teach you, Antonio Brown, excuse me, you have to break this complex compound issue down to its elements. and to focus on the task at hand for the Patriots, there's no one who's better at being a mastermind of focus of the task at hand, and that's Bill Belichick. What is this about? This is about team building. What is this about? The construction of a roster. What is this about? Production. And in that balancing act of production and distractions and issues that come with you, AB is second to none in terms of that production. If you talk about his 6 seasons, 100-plus catches and 1,200 yards, that's never been done in NFL history, he has the latitude, he has the rope, he has the equity to not only have these issues follow him, but also to have the room to have an opportunity to play for a new team despite bringing that baggage with him. So should the Patriots ultimately care if AB is a bad person? Absolutely not, because AB is not a New England Patriot long enough to show that on this team, on our record, you're the same bad person that your reputation precedes you as.
Yeah, I think they should care that he's a bad person. It's, can you manage that bad person in your locker room? Can you get production, and can you keep that bad person from acting out on your football team? I mean, that's the bottom line, is they want production. Here's the thing about the NFL. If you can produce, the NFL will put up with a lot of garbage. I mean, they will find a way to take that turd, make it into a sandwich, and choke it down as long as there's production. Mm-hmm. You know, they may spit it out if there's no production, because a turd sandwich is a turd sandwich is a turd sandwich. They'll spit that damn thing out. But if they've got production, they'll throw some sprinkles on that damn thing, you know, put some sugar on it, and they'll choke that down. That's what they're going to do. And the issue that they get into, or the thing that they get into and that they've done better than anybody else, is say, okay, you've got a clean slate here. Until you screw it up, here you've got a clean slate. As long as you do what we ask you to do and you go out and produce, we'll put up with it. And that's, you know, that remains to be seen, obviously, if they can do that. Should you care? Yeah, you should care. But it's the NFL. And you know what they care more about than whether you're a good dude or not? Whether you can produce or not. Mm-hmm. And that's not endemic only to the New England Patriots. Mm-hmm. It's everybody.
Yeah, they should care. They should care. But I think the way they approach things as it applies to these types of players is Antonio Brown has done enough damage to his own brand that the goodwill that they've built up in New England to say, okay, we will bring in a problematic guy, a guy that could be divisive, a guy that could be in question. But because of our reputation and how we handle these things and how we go about our business in the Patriot way, they've built up so much goodwill that Antonio Brown comes into this situation where they say, you know, we do care about him as a person. We do care if he's a bad person. But the reality of it is that, yes, we're going to give him this opportunity to be a part of our team and fit in our system and learn what the Patriot way is all about. But he's done this. We know he's done that. You know he's done that. So if he shows those type of characteristics here, we'll show you how you're supposed to deal with it. We'll show you how things go down in Boston if this is what you think you're going to get away with here. And I think that's the whole idea of it is they're okay with giving him a chance, and they do care about what his mental is, but we're not going to play around with it.
I'm going to tell you why I think this is different than Randy Moss, LeGarrette Blount, Albert Haynesworth, even Chad Johnson. Everywhere AB goes, there's conflict with the human beings he comes in contact with. On his team, from Big Ben to Mike Tomlin to Juju Smith-Schuster, you go to the Raiders and Gruden is Mayock. Then you go look at his personal life, which has been exposed, and there's conflict everywhere. And so I think with Randy Moss, did a few things on the football field, but again, I never heard teammates that I can really remember off the top that had real problems with Randy Moss. I can't, LeGarrette Blount, you know, whatever his problems were with marijuana or whatever his issues were, again, it wasn't constant conflict with every human being he comes in contact with. So I think the Patriots are taking a real fly here. Take Aaron Hernandez. The Patriots could claim they were unaware of his issues, But again, those weren't with his teammates in Florida. Those issues weren't with his teammates inside the Patriots locker room for the most part, although there were a couple of guys I think that did have a problem with Aaron Hernandez. This is unique. Everywhere this guy goes, there's major conflict. I think they should care. I think this is a bad fit for their culture.
One, let's just get this out the way. We all know there's three sides to every story. So when you're talking about he say situations or he say, she say situations, you got to respect all perspectives. So we don't know how all those situations really came to be. Two, I think we're talking out of turn when we say teammates about AB, because I can only say singular teammate, and maybe that's Ben Roethlisberger. Derek Carr gets on after a Monday Night Football win talking glory about Antonio Brown when he doesn't have to. You can say it's disingenuous or not, but no one forced him to go to that place. I don't know another. Juju Smith-Schuster was shocked when him and AB, he went to the Pro Bowl talking great about AB and said, hey, I've been reaching out to him, don't know anything about him. So while they were actively teammates, I didn't hear a word about AB. And I don't know anyone else except Ben Roethlisberger, who was calling him out about production, that ever had an issue with him. That said, this guy still has 6th-round DNA in him. He still has walk-on at Central Michigan DNA in him. He knows how to be humble. He knows what humility looks like. That's how he rode his work ethic and talent to the top of the mountain in terms of a Hall of Fame career.
That may not be humility, though. That may be chip. He might be walking around with a boulder on his shoulder, and that boulder got bigger and bigger as the results came with being that 6th.
And you don't think he can return back to that place? You don't think there's elasticity in that?
I don't think so. I think he has a far gone approach to how he's doing things, and I think the things that the results and the products that have been created from the life that he's been living since he's become AB. I really do think that those things were always there, but no one really addressed it until he became a fan favorite, a media sweetheart, so to speak. I think that he's where he is.
I think one thing that's just important to talk about how the construction of an NFL locker room, I think, is important. Because you have to understand, like if you laid out, I played for 12 years, if you laid out all 12 of my team photos, there'd be a dozen guys, maybe 6 guys, I couldn't tell you who they were on that team photo, on each one of them. Not because I wasn't engaged with my teammates.
Too many people come
it's
and go.
because it's all the people that come and go, and it's also because you're compartmentalized. There are times where I wouldn't see a guy that played on the defensive side of the ball, literally, unless he played in the front 7. I wouldn't see one of them DBs for a month.
Other than team meeting.
Other than, and maybe like bumping into them on the way. I'm in one meeting, out the other. So, like, you have a very compartmentalized locker room. Hey, the receivers meet over here, the DBs meet over here, the linemen meet over here.
Mark.
Yeah.
AB and his baggage invades every compartment.
No.
Again, right now,
I'm just saying
he's not caught a ball.
I'm just telling you, you're right. You have to answer the questions. You're correct. But I don't see. Here's the deal. I don't have to pick out curtains with you. I don't have to do anything with you that I don't want to engage in. If that's the way the locker room works.
Bill Belichick has stood up for years. I only want to talk football. Football.
Right.
AB, you're not going to be talking football.
Yes,
for
you
the
are.
Rest of this
the Patriot way is you have to defer all questions that are AB related to Bill Belichick. You go out there and give your opinion about AB on the Patriot team and see what happens to you.
I agree with you.
So that means it's not going to be.
Marcellus, let's deal with the reality of what the media is going to do here. When stories start reaching the New York Times, there will be a constant onslaught of AB.
Like the demise.
Right.
We already went to the demise agree with in Foxborough.
But
we've been through this.
I will say this in Witt's behalf, or to add to it, I don't think the New England Patriots have experienced anything internally to this degree.
Deflategate, Spygate.
No. This is
the
different.
demise
That
of
was
Foxborough.
internal.
That's different.
This is somebody else coming into your organization. I agree with you in this. Like the media is going to be all in there. The players will go hide in the training room. Like they'll defer. They won't ask. Here's where it comes, because I've been here. When you start, and not in this situation, but just when you start, like I was on an 11-0 team and a 13-0 team. The amount of questions you get, it's not from the media, it's from your own damn family. So your phone rings, and you know what they're asking you? It's like there is no, like normally the media, you got a safe spot. You go, later I'm in the training room, later I'm going home, later, you can just avoid that.
Yeah.
You know what you can't avoid? Your mom calls you.
No.
Your dad calls you. Your buddies call you.
Hold on.
Right.
I'm going to tell you what you can't avoid. When you come home and sit down to dinner with your wife, and she starts reading these emails.
No, 100%. Yes.
She's going to want to talk about it.
Right.
So
right.
I'm just sorry. There's no running from AB. Bill Belichick today, they're 3 or 4 days from playing the Dolphins. Every question was about AB. He hasn't done squat for the New England Patriots. Not one damn thing. And he's overtaken this team just like you can't convince me all 53 guys on that locker room are on board with this. Like, do we really need AB? Do we really need – is this really how we have to win is with AB? Now, Tom Brady may be all in. He's 42 and he's a quarterback. That doesn't mean everybody else in that locker room is like, I'm good with this?
Yeah, but Bill Belichick, out of his own words, said, look, out of his own mouth, he said, you guys sound like y'all did when we brought Randy Moss here. And y'all can say this is more intense, but he's like, I heard this before. I've dealt with this before. This is Belichick.
And that's a very naive statement on Bill's part.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in my view.
So?
Look, Bill Belichick is not infallible.
No, I didn't say he wasn't, but he's also
got a lot.
He knows how to deal with it.
He's got a lot of credibility built up, and I think that where he saves himself in this situation is AB has already shown who he is. It doesn't have to be debated. We know what it is.
Which one? Early AB or this AB?
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the reality of it is that if either one of them shows, he wins if the early one shows up and balls out.
There it is.
But he wins if the other one does it because they don't necessarily need him in terms of his skill. Yeah. And if he shows that he's that bad person, you get rid of him, and you already knew. Look, we tried. Now, if the New England Patriots don't have the infrastructure to help AB, that's it. Right. Who else is going to pick him up?
They can win.
That's it.
Hey guys, this is Jason Whitlock from Speak for Yourself. Are you ready for what's ahead? You can't always predict the future, but you can game plan for it. Generations of families and businesses have harnessed the power of Pacific to help them reach their unique goals. Whether you need to save enough money to meet your needs, ensure your family is protected, or make sure you don't run out of money, Pacific Life has a variety of financial solutions that can help. Pacific Life counts more than half of the 100 largest U.S. companies as its clients and has been named one of the 2019 world's most ethical companies by the Ethisphere Institute. Protecting what matters most to people for 150 years and counting? That's the power of Pacific. Ask a financial professional about how Pacific Life can help you game plan for the future, or visit pacificlife.com.
Mark Schlereth and LeVar Arrington are back. Let's return to Antonio Brown. Bill Belichick says the team is taking the allegations against him seriously, and Brown did practice with the team today. But as for this weekend, one NFL legend, Brett Favre, thinks the team doesn't even need him, saying that his presence could create problems because he won't get the ball as much as he wants. I think Favre said something about Mike Holmgren used to say, trying to pound sand into a flea's rear end. And
Never tried, but
and again, when you don't need a guy, and he's a guy that likes his touches, and you're an offense that doesn't give any particular person touches, this could be just an on-field problem for the Patriots. How do you make it work? How do you make him happy? Or maybe you don't concern yourself with making him happy. I've yet to see that work.
Oh, man. It's tough to take a shot at Brett Favre, but I listening to him in its entirety, you can hear him contradict himself. One, he says that Tom Brady always gets the ball to the right guy, and that guy is always open. And so if you're still trusting in Tom Brady and this Patriots system, and knowing that AB will get open, how come you don't think that Tom Brady will get the ball to AB in the proper moments? So that sounds like a utopian situation. That sounds like that's going to work. Now we're getting into this abundance of talent conversation, which, I don't know. Only thing that could derail that is the frustration of AB. But the frustration of AB has to be suppressed based on the stakes for that same AB. We all incentives shape behavior. People always get it twisted. When you are incentivized to be good, 6th-rounder AB, you're good. When you're not incentivized because you got guaranteed money and the coach is enabling you, you're incentivized to do what you want to do. He's in a situation where he's incentivized to not only produce, but to be disciplined. So when I hear Brett Favre say that this system will put him in the proper places, and this system and Tom Brady always takes advantage of that, keep going with that thought, keep going with that logic, instead of undermining it and saying now his frustration will derail it. I don't see that.
There just comes that time when you're going to be in a situation where this week you're going to run the ball 38 times and you get 242 yards and you're not going to get any targets. And are you okay with that? Think about the Patriots players. The Patriots players understand the team concept of football. I'll take it to the defensive side of the ball. Last year, I believe they were the #1 team as far as pressures are concerned on defense and the number 32nd team in sacks. So if you play defensive end for the New England Patriots, you know what they say? Hey, listen, if you get a back that releases to your side, give up your pass rush, chip that guy, make sure he doesn't get to the flat, so our curl flat player has time to get depth, basically get underneath those in-breaking routes and still rally up to make a tackle if they swing it out to the back. How many times have you watched New England have backs that catch it 14 times for 138 yards because we got pass rushers that want to get to the quarterback? Like, they play a style of football that says you're going to have to sacrifice numbers, but what's going to happen for you is the ability to play in championship games. And they've got players that are willing to do that. Will AB be willing to do that? Or at some point, will he have a game or two where he's only got 4 or 5 targets and 3 catches and then explode? My thought process on that was, yeah, he'll be a good soldier for a game, maybe 2. He has a couple of those games where he's not involved, and then he's going to, rupture.
He's walked into the doors of football royalty. And the accomplishments of that franchise far exceed a ton. And even though he came from Pittsburgh, and you can understand the culture and the history there, you're talking about the culture and the history is current in New England.
Yep.
You're not talking about Chuck Noll and right? You wouldn't have dealt with that with the steel curtain, right? So you're talking about someone who has already been made aware of the fact that we don't need you. We don't have to keep telling AB we don't need him. We don't have to say it in the meeting room every day. Here's our game plan. Oh, by the way, AB, we don't need you, right? The reality of it is Brett Favre is right. They don't need him. But the reality of it is that that's what makes it so unique about what it is that the Patriots are doing, because if you are able to, in fact, fit him into what it is that you have going on, there's not one GM, there's not one coach, there's not one owner that would sit there and say, we have too much talent. We don't need to deal with this guy. This guy is one of the best in the league. We don't need to deal with him. I don't buy that.
AB loves attention. And what Brett Favre is talking about, which makes sense, because he doesn't go all the way and explain his point, but I'm going to fill in some gaps.
Okay.
Here. I think he's saying, hey, man, they run a very complicated offense, and the receivers have to be really, really students of the game. And so what he's saying is, let's just put him in on third downs. What he's saying is he won't fit on every play. The Patriots, they do things the right way. AB's going to be standing on the sideline sometimes because, again, he doesn't know our playbook. He doesn't know our scheme.
I agree.
And so he becomes a situational player. And I'm sorry, AB standing on the sidelines when he thinks he should be in the game, that's going to be a problem.
I don't agree with that necessarily. I don't think all the players that have ever played and came through the doors at New England are super studious students of the game. You're going to find ways to learn a playbook. You're going to learn how to run the routes and how they apply.
They call it training camp and OTA.
Sometimes.
He just showed up this week.
Sometimes you have shotgun starts with what you're doing with the season taking place.
I'm going to give you a guy that they tried to shoehorn into their offense that still had talent. He's from Liberty City. He shared the same trainer as AB for a long time, Bo Smith. Chad Johnson. Chad Johnson got there and was like, oh, man, this playbook is a monster. This isn't what I do.
Yeah.
And Bill Belichick moved on from it.
Well, look, it's a complex playbook. I've heard this from too many players that have played this. The option routes, how you have to play on leverage, how you have to play on their scheme. It's just a lot. It's a lot of calculus per play. I'm not going to really indict AB and say he can't digest a playbook because his production speaks for itself, whatever that playbook in Pittsburgh was. That said, this is a guy who, if you look at last year, through the early part of the season, if we can really time travel to the early part of the season, when AB was getting targets, but at the same time, Juju Smith was getting the same amount of targets, if not more. And I didn't hear any frustration out of AB. The first frustration that I heard was actually our analysis of Roethlisberger missing AB on certain plays he was open, and then Roethlisberger internalizing that criticism and shooting at AB because he was missing on those same plays. AB, through that entire early midpoint of the season, was silent. And then if you look at it, that's when the balance of scale started to happen. He started to get as many or more targets as Juju. He finished with 2 more targets than Juju and 1 fewer game. And that's when you started to see it all unravel. So we have to be real about this. A guy who knew he was much more talented than his number 2 was on pace to getting fewer targets and didn't say a word about it. So I'm just trying to translate that to this situation.
I get a word about it to us,
Well,
Marcellus.
I get
Inside that locker room and with Big Ben, if my memory is correct, I thought there was a story about at some point in the season, Big Ben yelled at him for not being in the right spot during the practice.
There was the play in Denver where Big Ben threw the interception on the goal line. I think it was a 2-point conversion. It may have been right on the goal line, and he blamed Antonio Brown, and it was Shelby Harris, the defensive tackle, who jumped out off his pass rushing.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with the route. The route was fine.
Exactly.
No.
And that.
There was a story about in practice, either Ben kicking him out of practice or trying to kick him out of practice. That sent AB over the edge a little bit. I just think there were things going on inside their locker room and amongst their team that goes on with all teams.
Yeah.
If you don't think those coaches and Tom Brady are going to sit down with AB and say, AB, what routes do you like to run? When are you most open? Right?
Right.
If y'all don't think for 2 seconds that he's got to learn the entire New England Patriots playbook, you're crazy.
I'm going to tell you what you're crazy
You're
about. I'm going to tell
crazy.
you what you're crazy about.
Tell me.
Bill
I won't know.
Belichick ain't going to sit down and ask what plays are you on.
Yes, he is.
Why is he not?
Yes, he
Here's
is.
the way he's going to do.
What?
Yes, he is.
Here's the plays we want you to run. This is our system. It works.
Okay.
Yeah, AB,
we can meet halfway on that.
Yeah.
We can meet halfway on that. If you don't think that they made book on AB and the patterns, the routes that he runs, what they want to run with him, here, AB, here's what we're going to run.
Thank
And
you.
you know what
That's
AB
what's gonna
and you know what
happen.
AB is going to say? That's my favorite routes anyway.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite routes
But be real,
anyway.
we got to push back, Whitlock.
What?
That's persona. He ain't going to ask you what you're good at. You know why? Because he meets with Tom Brady every single week, a separate conversation, one-on-one, where they're breaking down plays even further. What do you like? What do you see? You ain't going to do that with AB?
No,
Why?
because he's already got a book on AB. He's competed against him for years. Bill Belichick already knows what AB does well and what he can do well
Does
for
he
him.
know AB's
That's
comfort
why
level
they,
in
but
those
that's why they got him.
That's making the point,
That's
though.
why they got him, because they already got a book.
That is making the point. Do what you do best. We
I-
made book on you. This route right here, can you do that?
You think I didn't
What-
watch Sports Nation? It was like,
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, I did. You were the one.
Mark Schlereth is back with us. That dude's dude. Back.
Yes.
Tell us what you got.
Man, you know, the ones in the trenches that really make it work but don't get a lot of love and attention. Well, we give you love on this show. It's that dude's dudes. And let's start off with number 3, Ohio State's DN Chase Young. This dude's going to be the second pick of the draft, if not the first pick. Depends on where you want Tua. This dude's a beast. 3 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 15 career sacks. Let's start off with what he does. He sets a mark 3 yards behind the tackle to get to a spot. Look at that arm, that right arm. By banging it up in the air, you get the speed and power. Now he gets to his mark and flips those hips. Telling you, pass rushers, you think that you're going to get to the quarterback up top? It's the hips down low. Chase Young showed you that. That's our number 3, that dude of the week.
Same boat.
Number 2, let's go to the NFL. Cardinals DN Chandler Jones. Bone Jones, brother. Keeping up with the Jones right here. You know he had 13 sacks last season after 17 sacks the year before. A beast. Standing straight up over the tight end. The tight end's going to release out wide. Now, Jones is going to dance, go inside and dance on him. By dancing, all of a sudden, he gets the left arm on the tackle. But take a look at that right leg. It's locked. Uh-oh, you know that means he's going inside, and he does. Hits him with the silky swim move, and then you finish off every single one of your moves by clearing, pushing past the offensive lineman. He does that with ease. Oh, Old Town Rock and Roll. Chandler Jones, number 2, that dude of the week. Now let's go to our best of the week. Number 1, Bears DN Roy Robertson Harris. Roy, Oh, watch him go right down the middle of the pipe. Dominates Lane Taylor on his way to bringing down Aaron Rodgers. Now let's show you how he does it. Throws off Taylor's hands with a stutter step. Look at those hands, Taylor. Oh, they down. They're out. Not ready because the timing's off. So now Robinson Harris uses the button bitch approach to turn him into a Pez dispenser. Look at this dude right here. Pins Taylor on the ground and has him on the ground in a bad position. Coach, it's hard to block down here. Yeah, we know, son. Get up. Robinson Harris gets up with a little Mortal Kombat on your head. Aaron Rodgers, you must go down because I have to finish him. My man, Roy Robertson Harris, you know who you are. That dude's dude of the week.
Dude, you need to kick your legs up, and then you need to go into, like, you're going to grab around with your legs.
Like, Coach used to say cockroach.
Cockroach him right there. Been there before.
Marcellus, that was awesome.
Done.
All right, let's move to a guy who had some struggles this weekend, Cam Newton, who used to be renowned for his deep ball, but dink and dunked his way through a loss to the Rams on Sunday. The performance raised some questions about whether Cam's shoulder was healthy, but the quarterback defended his approach yesterday.
If it's going to hinder us from winning, I don't want to throw it. But if it's going to make us win, oh, baby, you better call some doggone deep balls. But, I'm all for it, man. You're only asking me because of my shoulder. How about this? You talk to the defensive coordinator for Tampa and don't think I can throw the ball over 20 yards and see how far that gets you. How about that?
Well, you got to throw it accurately, Cam. And I watched all of that game, and the one ball he did try to throw deep was very inaccurate. I think there is reason for concern until we see otherwise, and hopefully we'll see otherwise tomorrow night.
I have no concerns. One, you got to understand that once you step between the whites in a situation like this, what Cam's been through this entire offseason, as Bruce Arians said, you have to have the mindset that the guy can make those plays. Not only as a defensive team, but also if you're on his team, on the offensive side of the ball, you're thinking Cam Newton can make these plays. But then I had to do some research and had to look. And shout out to my man Andy, who does all the work. Jared Goff, Tom Brady. You know how many passes they threw over 20 yards last week in their wins? 3. Jimmy Garoppolo, who threw only 2 in his win, even though he didn't look tremendous. Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins, and Cam Newton only threw 1. The NFL today, man, it's a different animal. We still go with the stats with an archaic mindset. Did you push the ball down the field? You know what? There's a lot of great quarterbacks right now who are giving you the short pass, the long handoff. And Cam Newton, without the concern of injury in the shoulder, would just be in this category without question. So I'm with Cam.
I think there's always a concern, there's always a concern because of what his body has been through, that you're trying to manage him for the entirety of the season. One of the things Norv Turner has done has impressed upon him about the short passing game, getting into the hands of your playmakers early so that your playmakers can do the dirty work and you don't have to. So there's a mindset that has changed for Cam in that regard. I think the other thing is if you look at the NFL, and you're 100% right, we always talk about stretching people horizontally as well as vertically. One of the things that's happened in this league is every defensive coordinator will tell you, all right, first priority is stop the run. But then you put on the film, and you know what their first priority is? Is to stop the pass. You got linebackers that are bailing out, that are not reading play action, that are basically saying, go ahead and throw it underneath us, right? And we'll rally up and try to make a tackle. But they're giving you space underneath. You watch Tom Brady pick apart the Pittsburgh Steelers. How many throws do you think were more than 7 yards? I bet you I watched 20 throws that were under 7 yards.
Exactly.
That's what they do. So it's about accuracy, and it's about
Getting it out quick.
But more importantly, putting it in a place accurately where the player that you're targeting can catch it and run with it.
Right, and that's why getting it out quick is important. Because if you give those linebackers time to settle where they are ready to move up and make a tackle, it's a problem. And so the problem with Cam, having watched that game, is that the reason why these questions are being asked is because you still have questions about his mechanics. To me, it looks like he's still winding up to throw the ball. It doesn't comes out of his hand beautifully. It's a tight spiral. It gets there with some zip. But I think his motion is still a bit of a wind-up, and I don't know if that's because of the shoulder. I don't know if it's because he's always had bad mechanics. But I just think I'm really excited about this Thursday's game. I'm trying to go to Cam Anonymous, but I'm going to be all in. It's Thursday. It's the only game. I can't do it. This ain't the week to kick the habit. So I want to see some proof that he can throw it downfield. He can get it out quick. And again, they did a nice job with McCaffrey, and those guys made plays, but I still have questions about Cam.
I want you to enjoy that Thursday night game.
Yeah.
I want you to, Casa Dragones, the 24 platter of wings, whatever. Let go of your confirmation bias. Everyone out there, let go of your confirmation bias. You guys know he's had injuries. You guys have injury concerns. So you walk into it now, and you're evaluating everything under the lens of injury. But the problem is, you're not understanding the new evidence, the new mindset. Cam Newton is just throwing the ball like all the good to great quarterbacks are doing it now. As you said, horizontally. You're throwing the ball right now for the long handoff, the short pass. That's the new game. Look, it's just a coincidence that his injury occurred last year, and now he's doing what Norv Turner wants him to do. But if you're acting like the injury is the reason, the cause of him throwing these short passes, that's not it. He's just in a new mind frame.
Joined now by Fox College football analyst, college Fox football analyst, Joel Klatt. Time now for Darnell's question of the day.
Say it again, Whitlock.
Klatt. Darnell,
There's a lot going on there.
Got to you, didn't he? Anyway, man, let's talk about Nick Saban in Alabama.
Ooh.
The Tide are off to a 2-0 start after wins over Duke and New Mexico State.
Duh.
But as usual, their non-conference schedules being criticized. Over the weekend, Saban got testy with reporters who pressed him about their soft schedule. But he's even more upset about something that happened during a blowout win over New Mexico State when the student section cleared out before the game was over. Check this out.
If I asked that whole student section, all right, do you want to be number one? Nobody would put their hand up and say, I want to be number 4. They would all say, we want to be number 1. But are they willing to do everything to be number 1? That's another question. But that's a choice and decision they got to make. But all these things affect the program, all right, because, people come and we have recruits here and they want to see a full house and all that. I hope that there's something that we could do that would enhance their wanting to stay and have the spirit to stay and all that, but I don't really know much about all that stuff. That's not my cup of tea, trying to figure out how to stop, snag 7 flat.
All right, so Joe, I want to start with you. Is Nick Saban still happy at Alabama?
Yes, he's so happy. Let me tell you why, because every coach in America says those same things, but they're, to me, behind closed doors. They just don't have the name equity to do it in front of the podium. That's the thing. Everybody laments something around their program behind closed doors, and this is what Nick Saban laments at Alabama. It doesn't mean that he's unhappy. Just because Bill Belichick looks like he's comatose at pressers doesn't mean that he's unhappy. I think Nick Saban is very happy because he's at a place where he can be the best. That's what he desires. He's not in it for the praise of the student section. He is worried probably. I tell you what probably set him off. There was probably a recruit that was like, man, I wish the students would have stayed. And he's like, if we lose this recruit over the, that's what gets his blood boiling. So I still think he's happy. And I want to go to something that he said within that little rant in that press conference, which was, who wants to raise their hand to be number 1? Everyone does. No one wants to be number 4. Are they willing to do the things to be number 1? It's just a kind of a throw-in little thing. But here's what I think is so interesting about it. I really believe that most people demand greatness of others without first demanding greatness of themselves. And so Nick Saban is clearly a guy that has demanded greatness of himself and his program. And he's uniquely aware of the discipline, the fortitude, the structure that it takes, the sacrifice that it takes to get to where he's at. So when he feels arrows slung his way from people or groups that he does not feel like has sacrificed the way he has to be great, I think it makes his blood boil. And that's what we're seeing right there in those press conferences.
You nailed it right there. He has to come out and say these type of things, because if he doesn't, nobody and nothing controls the expectations at Alabama. So here's the thing about the expectations. If you look at it, they need to appreciate what's going on step by step, respect and trust this process. That means players, that means boosters, that means fans, that means students. We're all in this together. Coach used to say something like he used to say. Who wants to be a champion in this room before training camp? Everybody goes up.
Everybody.
And then he started naming the responsibility that comes with becoming a champion. He was like, I know some of y'all should put your hands down, right? And you're right. Here's a cliche that I used to always hear in exact terms about this situation. Everybody wants to go to the parade, but nobody wants to build the damn floats. And that's exactly what this is.
That's great.
They just want to show up on Macy Day. Hey, this is beautiful. You got to show up all the time, bro.
Well, I agree with everything you all have said. I'm just going to defend the kids a little bit.
What, traffic?
No, not traffic. Just like,
The beer is closing.
not traffic. It's just like, hey, man, when Georgia's here, when
Sure.
Mizzou's here, when we're here.
Yeah.
You keep putting this mediocre entertainment in front of us, and we got better things to do.
That's an interesting part of this.
Yeah.
And it's, it's hard. I don't know where I come down on that because it's not Alabama's responsibility to schedule in order to sell tickets. Their responsibility is to win championships, and they schedule to win championships, and they do it better than anybody else in college football. Having said that, he also had a rant about, we're trying to play the best people that we can. I'll play anybody, anywhere. Yes, to a point.
Right.
Remember, this is a team that would not do home and homes for the last however many years. They've only, since he got there, played 2 non-conference true road games in Saban's tenure. That's not enough. That's a decade of football, right? Now, they do have Texas coming up with a home and home and Wisconsin coming up with a home and home. But what started to happen, guys, they would call teams up and say, hey, we want to play you in the non-conference, and people would be like, okay, great. So when do you want to come up here, and when do you want us to come down to Tuscaloosa? And they were like, no. We're talking about coming to Dallas or Atlanta. Yeah. And everyone's like, no.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that because that's really a road game for us. When they bring a Pac-12 school out to Dallas or they bring somebody else down to Atlanta, and they know that it's going to be 65, 75% Alabama fans. So there is a responsibility that Alabama has to have, and they are mitigating that formula moving forward. Like I said, Texas with a home and home, Wisconsin with a home and home, Notre Dame with a home and home, West Virginia. They've also got, I believe it's Oklahoma on there.
I'm going to disagree with your point a little bit in terms of what the priorities are. And you're right, winning a championship, but the actual purpose of college athletics is to entertain your student body and fan base.
No, that's gone. That's been lost when the money kicked in.
That, to
Come
me,
on, man. Stop.
is either equal.
Yeah, talk to him, class.
That's either equal.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah, right. What are you doing? You purist? That's been gone.
That's the purpose.
Oh, stop.
Educate these athletes, entertain the student
you
body,
old and dusty with
the
that.
boosters and all that. It's an entertainment event.
Oh, really?
It's a Michael Jackson concert, and if Michael doesn't perform songs off a Thriller,
it's a problem.
And it's a yes.
I
mean, if he does everything off the wall, it's like, hey man,
no, that's good
we
too.
came here to see
Just don't
Thriller.
do all the bad. We start losing.
Let's be honest. If it was just about educating the athlete,
I'm not saying just about.
but you did incorporate that. You did include that, right? I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did include that. Then we wouldn't lower standards to get athletes in based on the rest of the student population, right?
Academic index.
Right,
Don't do it.
right.
Don't
So
do it.
Stop, Joe. I wouldn't have went to college if not for some lower.
I probably wouldn't have either. I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying anything that I'm not including in myself.
Three
but
amigos up here.
hey,
The 4 amigos.
yeah. But what I will say is the shame of that fact is, the truth is that we're allowing kids into school to benefit football and basketball programs, and those kids are ill-equipped to actually attend the university that they're at. And so what ends up happening is, via paper classes, looking at you, North Carolina, or what, they just kind of get these kids through eligibility-wise, and they're not really actually trying to get them the degree that they've marketed it as.
Well, can we?
We got very little time.
I know. I'm sorry. I brought something.
You
I
went
just
too heavy. We got meat on that
I
bone.
just threw a grenade out
Maybe
there.
you
Do you know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, but I think we're overthinking this. When you play smaller programs like that, you got to pay for it, right? Like Alabama's paying for this, and they're like, you suckers can't even stay through the whole thing.
Whitlock and Wiley, joined again by Mark Slareth and LeVar Arrington. All right, the fallout from Hurricane Antonio Brown has finally reached its ultimate destination, Cleveland, and the headspace between Odell Beckham Jr.'s ears. You just knew OBJ could be none too happy with all the brand building and attention whoring Brown has been doing this summer. So OBJ has outfitted himself with a watch as part of his NFL uniform. The watch is from the maker, Hey Look at Me. OBJ studied the NFL rulebook and discovered the league doesn't have a rule strictly prohibiting wearing a watch from Hey Look at Me. The league prohibits players from wearing hard objects. OBJ's $200,000 watch is made of plastic. The NFL says it will have a conversation with Beckham about the timepiece, which is rather fortunate for Beckham and his attention grab. He can now claim victimhood. He said, if anybody else would have worn the watch, if it was a $20 watch, it wouldn't have been no problem. That's just my life. It ain't this, it's something else. If it wasn't the watch, it would have been the way I tied my shoes. Nobody knows the troubles Odell has seen. Nobody knows his sorrows. OBJ is persecuted. Don't you see him up there on that cross? No, look closer. He's there. There is no more exalted status among brand-conscious, attention-obsessed celebrities than victimhood. OBJ is just another Juicy Smollett, thirsty for victimhood by any means necessary. Don't be surprised when he claims NFL defensive backs wearing MAGA hats are using ropes to slow down his pass routes. I'm just an old man. I can't relate to this loud niche of candy-ass athletes who spend all day whining about how unfair life is.
Damn.
They're playing a kid's game for millions of dollars. They're standing on the shoulders of a generation of Americans who made real sacrifices and endured legitimate indignities, and they're building their brands by pretending to fight injustice. It's a disgrace. It's unmanly. Make men men again. Can we do that? Can I start that movement? MMMA. Make men men again. That's what I hope this whole Jay-Z to the NFL leads to. That's what I hope Jay-Z meant when he said we've moved past kneeling. It's time for men to get off their knees, stop looking for their inner victimhood, and take care of their families and build their communities. My senior year of high school, I lived in a one-bedroom, 400-square-foot apartment with my father. He made $250 a week plus tips as a bartender. I don't ever remember hearing him complain, not once. Hell, my mother, when she complained, she only did it after she pulled a double shift at her factory job. I can't take OBJ. It's too much whining for me. All right, Marcellus.
Yes.
Get us started here as Odell to attention star.
Can I just say candy ass like you just
Yes,
did?
you
That was
can.
so beautiful. Candy ass. I'm with you, Odell. I got your back, big dog. Because once again, the NFL got caught slipping with their pants down. Y'all remember this summer, it happened also with AB in the helmet saga.
Yeah,
And AB, we killed the messenger and didn't listen to the message. And y'all saw the message loud and clear this weekend. Did y'all see Eric Weddle's brains hanging out, getting kicked in the head with these new helmets?
He was bleeding.
Did you see Joe Staley when he said, I was with you, AB? When I changed helmets, I broke my nose immediately the next game and went back to my old helmet. I'm just letting you know, now we're in another one where the NFL only protects two things.
The brand.
The shield and its uniform. You know why it protects its uniform? Because we want to rinse and repeat you athletes as you come and go. So now you telling me the NFL that has a uniform police. We know about this guy who used to walk around. He's on the payroll. I think he gets 6 figures. And he walks around before every game and he buddies you up. What's up, big dog? How you doing?
Then you
I
get
need
that mail.
I need an inch on them socks right there. All right, big dog. You see those cleats right there? Take that spat off. I'll put one on. You know, we remember this guy. And now the NFL and its understanding of its rules, of all the things that they do, and they do it with a fine-tooth comb. They know exactly what it's about. They get caught. And what happens is not only do they get caught, then they want to change the rule, but in the process, let's vilify those who caught.
Ain't nobody vilifying
Yes, you
OBJ.
are right now. You
No,
can't
they
say
not.
yeah.
I am.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. For those who are going to be the staunch supporters of it, won't you listen to the message? This is not a rule. He is not in violation. He is not
He's not a
candy ass.
victim.
He's well, look. He is a victim if there's not a rule and I ain't doing anything wrong. And now
And
you
they
gonna
haven't done anything but said they want to talk to him
Why
about
you want
it.
to talk to me? Ain't no rule. Got quiet. Thank you.
MMA.
It's not a rule.
Go ahead, Mark.
When I go to a steak restaurant, you know what I order? steak. Right?
Yeah.
I don't order a plate of sizzle. Like, I don't want a plate of sizzle. I don't care about this. You know what you can't do with sizzle? You can't eat it. You can just smell it and hear it, but you don't eat it. Like, this to me, the problem with this in general, you want to wear the watch. The rule is if you have a hard object, you have to cover it with some foam covering. I used to wear wrist guards.
Yeah.
Because my wrists were bad. I had to put this foam covering over the wrist guards. So you can wear the watch, just cover it in foam. And we're good.
But
well, wait, you're not going to cover it in foam.
But it's not hard. It's plastic.
He beat the rule with the way the material of the watch.
My wrist guards were plastic. Plastic is hard.
Yeah.
So,
This is plastic.
So I'm just saying,
Pretty freaking hard.
Is that what the purpose of being an NFL player is? Going through the rule book and trying to figure out ways I can beat the rules?
But let me just finish really quick. Yeah, let me just finish really quick. The issue is, are you worried about winning games? Or are you worried about looking stylish?
Get him.
While you're playing.
I'm going to get him.
Go ahead.
Some people made livings and may have even made it into the Hall of Fame beating rules. We'll start there. So some guys have beat the rule book in the National Football League.
Well, if he were taking PEDs,
we'll
I'd applaud it.
We'll leave that there. We'll leave that one there.
That ain't the only way.
The question is OBJ too attention starved? He's not too attention starved. I'll disagree and say no, he's not too attention starved. Is winning important to OBJ? Yes, because winning is a part of building his brand.
Bingo.
So he's not overlooking winning on Sundays and winning games. OBJ wants to win because OBJ ultimately understands that winning is good for business. And even if that business is OBJ business, it's still good for business. And I look at this situation with OBJ, and I take a little bit of a different approach on it. It's not that he's trying to compete for the attention of what's going on. He's going through withdrawal, all right? There's withdrawal. And I'll tell you what the withdrawal is. I played in D.C., and D.C., for me, when I was back then, that was a heck of a market to play in. But it wasn't New York. When I went to New York and played for the Giants, I sat there and I said to myself, oh, my gosh, I can't even believe this. Like, my mind was blown. And that man, I wasn't even a star in New York. I was like a guy on the team. I had a cup of coffee with the team and retired. I was done. This was the guy in New York City. Let me tell you something. Maybe he didn't realize it when he took the deal and, oh, I got to get up out of here and this, that, and the other. And, oh, this is a great situation going to Cleveland. He's going through withdrawal. He's in a market where he's going, hey, let me tell you something.
I disagree with that.
Ooh, go ahead. Please do.
Okay, well, I love your point about how attention and success works hand in hand.
Sure.
Can we they go together.
Yes.
You do not give attention to a bum. He knows he has to ball out for this to even have play. That said, there are too many guys in the Hall of Fame and too many guys who balled out when we don't question, did they care about winning when we saw them do some antics? Deion Sanders comes to mind, maybe on the Mount Rushmore in terms of all the stuff that he would put on, all the stuff that he would do, and people used to come at him like, are you really focused on winning? Until they saw the game.
What markets did Deion play?
I'm not talking about market. That's yours.
I'm talking about the rings.
Oh, can we talk?
Deion got rings,
Okay,
man.
but before he had rings, he still wore those things. Let me say this. LT, my teammate, who is in the Hall of Fame, as a rookie, was wearing the big ones, the big earrings, and he had some earrings on. I remember us playing in the game, and then one day after the game, he says, can y'all help me out? We like, what? I lost my earrings. Now, LT was focused on winning. LT had some earrings on that some people would say, why you got on $30,000 earrings and now you got your entire team waiting, holding the bus up, holding the plane up while we looking for these damn earrings. I gave him about 5 minutes. I said, LT, I can't find him. He couldn't find them anyway. The point is, let's not conflate that a guy who wants to do what he wants to do in uniform, Bill Parcells forced linemen, O and D line, to wear knee braces that had metal on it. I didn't hear the NFL come up to me talking about take the knee brace off. But now we're going to get to OBJ and do a little clout chasing because he caught you with your pants down, and now we're going to make a big issue.
He did it. He wore the watch. He did it. He knew that's a rule breaker. He knew that it would get attention. Let's not skip over that part of it. He knew that wearing a watch was going to get attention.
Or he would have won a $50 watch.
Why else are you going to keep?
Why a cheap watch?
Why do we keep stating the price figure of the watch? That's amazing. That's amazing branding for one. That's whatever you want to call it. That's amazing branding. That every single time we mention the watch, we mention how much it costs first and foremost. But secondly, I still got to revisit the whole market, and because the reality of why this is being pushed the way that it's being pushed, right? How many Hall of Famers come out of Cleveland? How many Hall of Famers? Who is the most memorable player that came from Cleveland? Jim Brown is the first name that you're going to throw out there. Yeah. Jim Brown. How many generations of football players have come since Jim Brown? Yeah. Bobby Mitchell. I love Bobby Mitchell. I know him personally. That's how I know Bobby Mitchell, through the history.
How many times you check the time when you're playing? Like, what do you need a watch for? There's clocks all over. You look at a jumbotron. Go, yep.
They ain't letting you go early. It ain't like when's lunch coming.
Wow. Yeah.
He's keeping. Never been to the club.
He's keeping us around.
You know what?
Nope.
LeVar Arrington's back. Let's move to Dallas, where Dak Prescott just made a great case for getting the monster new deal he wants with a huge week Game 1 win over the Giants, where he threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. So maybe it's not surprising that Dak is reportedly comfortable going deep into the season before getting the deal done, which could just keep driving his price up. Yeah, I think when I think about Jerry saying the deal is imminent, that's a negotiating ploy. And when I hear Dak saying, oh, no, I'll go into the middle of the season, that's a negotiating ploy. Yeah. But I wouldn't blame Dak if he wanted to get to week 3 and through the Miami game where he can throw up 7-8 touchdowns against the Dolphins and then cut a deal.
Yeah, this is evidence that there is a wide disparity in those two numbers. We could all do guesswork, but maybe Jerry's at 30. Dak's at 33, just above Carson Wentz. And Jerry sees week 1. He's like, oh, a deal's imminent. He's worth 30. And then Dak's like, I'm worth 33 plus if you just let me keep doing this resume building.
Did you watch week 1?
Yeah.
I think Dak moved off 33.
To higher, right?
Yeah.
That's my point. So this is evidence to the disparity of those numbers. But Jerry is thinking, okay, you're certainly worth 30. Okay, you may even be worth 33. And Dak's like, to your point, it's moved, brother. And he's like, I'm going to keep moving it since you moved your position. Jerry actually played himself by saying, it's imminent, because that shows that he's fluid in these moments. So if I could put up 2-3 more of these performances, who knows where Jerry's going to go, and I'm going to drag him along the way.
It's a win-win situation for Dak, in my opinion, because the team is set up to be able to win. They got a good, favorable schedule. Dak came in, and my biggest concern was how would he play right out the gate based upon not getting that contract. So for him to come out and say, well, I am deserving of this, no matter what the analysts say, no matter what the stories written say, if you're making X amount of dollars as the highest paid quarterback, and we keep throwing Wentz out there, well, what was Wentz's passer rating? What was his yards this week? What was his touchdowns? Dak's passing rating, 158.3, that was tied for first.
Perfect.
And with extra credit.
Yeah.
It's extra credit. Second, he was second with 405 in yards and second with touchdowns. If you ask me, he is now 100% in the driver's seat to ask for more than what he wants.
Yeah, no, I do think the pendulum has swung because Jerry's playing a dangerous game now. If Dak plays well against the Redskins, I believe, this week, it's curtains.
Nope.
I mean, I think Dak can sit there and say, you know, I got Miami coming up. I'm already 2 weeks in. We're undefeated. I think Dak could go to 38, 39, whatever. I really do in his demands. Because what he can sit there and say is like, oh, okay, we 4 games into this. I will ride this out.
Hey, y'all remember that game? Y'all remember that game you used to play back in the day when somebody was trying to tag, you was playing tag, and you got caught on the car, and you'd be going around the car, and you'd be like, stop playing, right? That's going to be Jerry. Jerry don't get this deal done soon. Jerry going to have that deal like, hey, take this deal. Yo, stop playing. Hey, stop playing. I ain't taking that deal. I ain't taking that. He ain't going to be able to get around that car.
Careful, y'all playing this wrong. Y'all got Jerry twisted. It's not a win-win for Dak. There is a point where he needs to stop. And I'll tell you why. One, there is a franchise tag out there still. Think about it. And the franchise tag is only $32 million. And I say only because Jared Goff just got $110 million guaranteed. So let me see. Dak, you don't want to take this deal? Tag. Oh, okay, go ahead. We're going to franchise you. Now you got to prove it again next year. Ooh. You have to prove it this year and prove it next year. And if you want to go again, I'll franchise you again. So hold on. Let's get to this. And we know since the new CBA, no quarterback has got a new deal from their drafted team after playing out their contract. Huh?
Here's the
You're
only
going to make
problem.
Dak the first one? This is going to be interesting,
Here's
bro.
the only pushback on that.
All right.
You just saw a guy that had 2 years left on his deal push back and hold and stay steady to get the numbers that he wanted.
Yeah.
So you've given franchise tag me if you want. If he plays the way he needs to play and they don't get the deal done and they got to franchise tag him, I ain't playing.
Zach is not built.
I'm not
to
playing.
do what Zeke did.
And
If he puts up numbers,
he didn't do it this year.
If he puts up numbers, Marcellus, I think the
And then
pair
he gonna get
grows
traded.
bigger.
He did not do it this
I don't
year.
think they would trade him. They wouldn't develop him into that. If this finishes out, they're not going to develop a legitimate franchise quarterback and let him walk. There's been some game-changing moments happen over the last 5-6 days. Julio, $64 million
numbers
at
going
signing.
up.
Yeah, yes.
Those
numbers
type
going
deals.
up.
And Dak is sitting there and his agent Todd France, they sitting there laughing at me and guys that kept saying, don't go ahead and take that $28 million, blah, blah, blah. And they cackling right now like these
And
idiots.
he played. And he played.
Oh.
He did not hold out.
And he also is,
That's goodwill.
as great as we're feeling about Dak right now, he could go out there and lay an egg, and where is this going?
Mike.
But that's the
That's
point.
fair.
You got to keep perspective. If the franchise tag is there to scare you from 110 plus million to 32, oh, yeah, you taking that
That's why you
situation.
put your
I
money
think
down
the
on
floor
the table.
now is 32, 33 million. And Dak, he can't lose in his mind. Uncle Jimmy's here to help us talk about our approval rating for Odell Beckham Jr.
Act like you don't know.
You know, baby.
Every day.
Who's your big dummy today?
You. Man, how you gonna set up and use the phrase candy ass? Couldn't use whippersnapper? Your old ass. Get up out of here, Mike.
All right, let's talk some Odell Beckham Jr., who took the
easy.
knee
It's too
after
easy.
flaunting a $200,000 watch during the Browns' embarrassing Week 1 loss to the Titans. Marcellus, the Browns play the Jets on Monday Night Football this week.
Yes.
You think they bounce back?
I think they do. One of their 4 primetime games they have this year, but the Jets are an improved team as well, so it's going to be tough. But, look, they've heard the noise. They've talked the talk. It's time to walk the walk, and I think they respond to that adversity and that criticism. Yes, they do.
Uncle Jimmy, your thoughts on Odell Beckham Jr., the watch, the whole attention whoring? You got
First of all, let me say something.
What?
First of all, let me say that Odell just got an old soul.
A what?
He got an old soul. He's misunderstood. See, you young people don't understand. You don't know. You don't know what you don't know. See, me and Odell, we are fashion fiestanadas. Odell and myself, that's just how we get down. But I know what y'all thinking. Y'all thinking Odell out here, he tricking. But old people tell you, when the young people say, it ain't tricking, you got it.
You got it.
Now let me tell you something. Nephew, you run around here running your mouth. You talking about tricking or whatever. Remember back in 1976? You remember me and your daddy had matching Cadillac Sevilles. Now, you didn't have no problem when you was the only kid wearing husky jeans showing up in a brand new Cadillac. Dark brown with the caramel guts.
Two-tone.
Sitting on Dayton and Vogues. I think they called it mustard and mayonnaise. Couldn't tell us nothing. The moment me and your daddy walked into the Future Nada Club, everybody would just stop, because they knew. We just got out the diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging in the scene with a gangster lane. Whoa. It was on like we was in Viet Cong, you understand me? Hey, let me tell you something, Canadian mist was flowing freely. Our receipts are still on the walls down there. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, that's good.
There's a lot of truth in that.
Receipts.
Hey, boy, let me tell you something. When we stepped out in the club, baby, it was stacks on stacks. We didn't need no bank. We was the bank. You understand me? Look at y'all complaining about Odell and his watch. Y'all just wait till Nike come up with these alligator cleats. And you know what? Damn the glass helmet project. Me and Odell teaming up with Stetson. They gonna come out with the Stetson helmet project. It got the wider brim. And if y'all think I'm making a fashion statement today, Oh, hot damn sweet black baby Jesus. Wait till you see what I got in store for Baker Mayfield this weekend.
Oh, don't do it.
I got something for him, too. Take a look at it.
Hell no.
Hey, I'm just trying to tell y'all, man.
Man,
Hey, we the members of the old student delegation. We here to demand that y'all cease and desist with all of these insinuendos about Odell Beckham Jr. He's a young OG. He's what we like to call a thundercat. And he's been selected by a group of thoroughbreds. And he will carry on the madness from henceforth and forevermore. And you and nobody else will stop it. OGs for life.
Rest in peace, Uncle Benefield, man. That's my Uncle Benefield right there. He's still here.
That was pretty good.
Oh, that's amazing.
Even having heard all that,
something nice.
even with all that,
What?
I got Odell as a role player.
Oh, stop.
59.
Yeah, 71
I
yards.
drop him 4 in job performance.
Role player.
Keep him same in character. Drop him in I drop him in character and authenticity. Down to a 59.
Yeah.
OB's got to do better. He's jealous of all the attention.
I did drop his job performance to 71 yards. It's not Odell level, but it's not role player.
If you got it.
Still, exactly. Character, I give him a bump because he caught the NFL slipping once again. I get you. And authenticity because he is going to actually follow through with it. This week, he's wearing the watch again. I love it.
As usual, the internet agrees with me.
The
They
inner
have him at
negative, you mean? The inner
I'm a
negative.
player.